Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar-Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on, so whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, Briar-Greaves Insurance are the best people in the game to work with. Visit briargreavesinsurance.com or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. It is a Monday edition of the show. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and everybody will be in an even better mood today as we are starting off the week in great fashion with a big-time guest that we'll just get into in just a minute. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. And our guest this afternoon, he is a Super Bowl winning general manager that has seen 5 straight playoff appearances for the Bucs, including 4 straight division titles. He's responsible for draft picks such as Mike Evans, Vita Vea, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Bucky Irving. He's the People's general manager. He's the Buccaneers general manager. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Licht joins the show. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How you doing this afternoon?
Doing good. Hey, you forgot to mention also a customer of Briar-Greaves Insurance.
Oh,
that is right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's quite the endorsement right there. That's fantastic. I use Briar-Greaves. So does Jason Licht. Boom. There you go. That's outstanding. So Jason, you've had a pretty big rock and roll weekend. Let's put it this way: you've built a Super Bowl winner, right? You found Tom Brady's successor in Baker Mayfield. You had some outstanding recent draft picks that have the Bucs poised, I should say, for another big Super Bowl run. You're a rock star GM in the eyes of Bucs fans. And speaking of rock stars, how was Metallica, and how cool was it for you and Mike Beal to meet James Hetfield of Metallica before the show and your friends?
Oh man, I have chills just thinking about it right now. He's one of those, to me. It's on that Mount Rushmore of people that, I don't get easily enamored, in
Right.
this business. I was with Tom Brady every day for,
for
a long time
Yeah.
going back to New England. And he's, on that, that has reached that level of international superstardom.
Yeah.
So to me, it was almost like meeting Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth. I've met Wayne Gretzky, so it's the same.
Yeah.
So it was it was unbelievable. He was very, very cool guy too. Very, very cool guy.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for you, Scott, but every year when we go to the Senior Bowl, we drive up to Mobile, Alabama, and we play different music. And when Master of Puppets comes on, that's usually one of the highlights of the trip, because the volume goes as high as it possibly can. But you also saw AC/DC recently as well. How was that show too? How did it compare to seeing Metallica?
Well, that's like asking you to pick your favorite kid. It kind of depends on what the day is, I guess, but that was awesome too. I can't really pick a favorite. My buddies, I had some buddies come in from out of town, college and high school buddies, and we went down into the Snake Pit and watched a lot of it from the Snake Pit. Watched Limp Bizkit. I love Limp Bizkit too. Yeah. So
let's go.
it was right there, right? There was no mosh pit going on inside the Snake Pit. That was on the outskirts.
Yeah.
But it was it was awesome. It was just a great weekend. It was a long weekend, but it was great. Yeah. Surprised I woke up today.
How cool was it to actually join AC/DC on stage? That must have been pretty cool.
I wish that happened.
But that wasn't it. There's you and Brian Johnson and Angus Young here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. I must have had a few too many. I forgot about that.
No, that's very cool that you have that you have seen both of your favorite bands kind of back to back here just in recent weeks.
So what a month.
Yeah. So we need to get into it. We'll talk plenty of Buccaneer football for sure. But I'm a fan of both bands as well. And I think all of us at Pewter Report here, we would love for you to name your top 3 AC/DC and your top 3 Metallica songs.
Oh man. Well, Thunderstruck has always been one of my favorite songs. Long Way to the Top. And then Back in Black.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I didn't go into deep cuts there, but those are them.
Right.
And I have to say Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
Sad But True.
Yeah.
Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets are good.
Yeah.
Wherever I May Roam.
One.
One. Man, it's I could keep going on and on. So it was amazing. Creeping Death, Whiplash. It's
Yeah.
So Bucs fans, make sure to put it on your Spotify list this week. It's going to be a lot of heavy metal and hardcore this week. But looking at minicamp coming up tomorrow over the next 3 days, just want to get your thoughts about Hassan Reddick. Now Bucs fans can kind of ease their tensions about whether or not he's going to be there. The Bucs posted photos about him in a Bucs uniform. So how excited are you to see Hassan Reddick practicing in a Bucs jersey?
Yeah, very excited. I know he's been working his butt off with his trainer, and he's out to prove to everybody in the league that he's still an elite pass rusher, and I'm just super excited. I'm really excited about this entire team, but this defense. I think it's going to look a lot different this year, especially with our new additions with Hassan, but our rookies. I think it's going to make a big difference, and I really like what it's going to look like at front seven as well. So just kind of chomping at the bit here.
Right. Do you expect everyone to be there for mandatory minicamp?
Yeah. They have all shown up. So
all hands on deck.
Yeah.
All hands on deck. Yeah.
All right.
And how about Chris Godwin? How is his rehab going? Has he reached any more milestones in his overall progress?
He's working very hard, as Chris would do. He's hitting all these milestones. It's still, too early to tell exactly with an injury like this. We'll know more probably in July where he is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way of predicting for sure when he will come back. We're still shooting for week 1, but we're not going to rush it. If it's not week 1, it's not going to be the end of the world for us, because we feel good about our team. But we signed Chris to a 3-year deal. It wasn't. Right. We're looking at the long term here, so we don't want to put him in a situation where we're forcing him out there too early.
Right. Well, and I would assume, too, with how good Emeka Egbuka has looked, and not just that, Jalen McMillan's also had quite the offseason as well, that even though you didn't draft Emeka with the Chris Godwin injury in mind, the byproduct of having him here is that you and Todd probably rest a little easier, and Josh Grisar, too, if for some reason he's not out there until week 3 or 4. Like, you've survived the first couple games without Kalijah Kancey, right, over the last couple of years, right? So at least having more depth at wide receiver, and Tez Johnson too, right? I mean, it's not like if Chris isn't out there on the season opener, it's not like.
And don't forget, last year this time in training camp, Cam Johnson was turning heads too. So
that's right.
He's healthy. So we wouldn't draft a player specifically in the first round for that matter, just because we were worried about Chris Godwin or whoever it is missing a couple games. We drafted him because he was a really good football player and to add to his arsenal. And you saw how it was last year when we had injuries to Mike and Chris, and we struggled through those games. Now we did a great job. Baker did a great job, and so did these Sterling Shepard and Ryan Miller and Jarrett, and all these guys did a fantastic job. But you saw how we struggled without having everybody. So adding an extra weapon to me, it was a no-brainer, especially when it was a Mecca. And we were on board. Todd was on board with that. We were talking about it way back in the combine about him. So I'm very excited to get him.
Speaking of Todd, he broke some news on our podcast last week when he said that the Bucs would be pursuing some joint practices with the Titans and the Steelers. Does it look like those things are going to happen?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it does look that way. So we're starting to plan all that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's make some more news. Has there been any thought to maybe doing a Baker Mayfield contract extension this year, given the fact that he's an absolute bargain? I think he's the 20th highest paid quarterback in the league, something like that, because there's been more deals coming. Or is that something where just realistically he's entering year 2 of a 3-year deal? Is that something that maybe you would address next offseason?
It's a big puzzle, Scott, that we have some guys that are going into their last year right now that we'll probably be focusing on here. Towards as we get to training camp. And we are well aware of how good Baker is. And, it's just part of the big puzzle that we'll have to figure out.
Yeah, on that topic, a couple of those guys that you mentioned earlier in the offseason that could be possible for extensions, Luke Gedeke, Zion McCollum, and Kate Otten. Is that still on the table? And is there anyone in particular that you would pursue first?
All three of those guys, we want those guys to be long-term Bucs. I'm pretty sure they all want to be here as well. So I think we'll just kind of, it's like I said, we'll work on all of them. I don't want to single one out as the priority, 1, 2, and 3. It's like we talked about before. It's like picking your favorite kid. So they're all guys that we want to be around here for a long time.
Yeah. Speaking of Gedeke, let's address the interior of your offensive line. Right, you guys just won a Super Bowl. You had a heartbreaking loss to the Rams. You won 13 games, set a franchise record in 2021. Alex Kappa departs in free agency. Ali Marpet suddenly retires. Ryan Jensen suffers a horrific career-ending, essentially, knee injury in training camp. Are you amazed at how quickly you and the Bucs front office were able to rebuild that interior with guys like Cody Mauch and Graham Barton and Ben Bredesen? Because you had Marpet under contract for a couple more years. You weren't really expecting that. Obviously, nobody expected Ryan Jensen to get hurt. He may still be playing, right? If that injury doesn't happen, but yet you guys were able to rebuild that interior and hit on so many of those draft picks. And with even though Gedeke was supposed to be an answer at guard, he ended up being the answer at right tackle for you. Are you kind of amazed at how that all worked out?
Well,
is that just your offensive line superhero power?
I don't have that. I'm glad it worked out. We invested a lot. We high picks, first and second round picks into that, and then got Ben as a free agent. And but those guys, they better work out, because of the investment that we had, and they were the right kind of guys. So it's awesome. Seeing how it has worked out. I think we have one of the better offensive line in the league, if not the best. And I think they'll show that this year.
Yep.
And like I said, that's the most important room. I've said this many times in this organization, making sure you have the right kind of guys, but then also the talent level that they are.
Yep.
And we should have them. I'd like to keep this line intact for a long time. And fortunately, they're all very young. So that could happen.
Now I'm going to ask you one of the harder questions that you've probably been asked, and this has nothing to do with Vernon Hargraves or Roberto Aguayo, okay? But kind of along the same lines, and you can't give me the whole, well, it's like picking your favorite kid thing. But how does this offensive line, talent-wise, compare to your Super Bowl offensive line? Granted, some of those players who are a little bit more advanced in their career, maybe a little bit more accomplished in terms of Pro Bowls and all that. Tristan Wirfs was a rookie during that season. But, I mean, when you look at the talent, a second-rounder like Luke Gedeke, a huge hit with Pro Bowl potential. Obviously, Tristan is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I think Cody Mauch and Graham Barton probably have Pro Bowls in their future. How does this offensive line stack up and compare to the one in 2020?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, Ryan Jensen, and just such a seasoned vet that we had. And we made him I believe we made him the highest paid center at the time. He, just what he brought in his tenacity and he's a prick out there, which I like. But so I think of him, but what he, it kind of bled into the whole room there. And I think we're still taking things from him, just like what Logan Mankins did for us, kind of had remnants for a long time that helped develop Ali Marpet, and those kind of things. So it's hard for me to say that it's more talented, but I will say, I think right now it's overall, I think it's a little bit more talented group than what we had, if you consider all 5 positions.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to ask you a little bit about Baker Mayfield as well. If you could speak on, how rare of an occurrence and how difficult it is to, find a successful successor at quarterback. You had Tom, and what Tom did was incredible, wins a Super Bowl with the team. But not many franchises are able to go from one quarterback to the other. The 49ers did it with Montana to Young. The Packers did it with Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love. But for Baker to come in after Tom, and it's not just it's a great quarterback, it's Tom Brady. It's the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't think many other quarterbacks can do what Baker did.
I wouldn't disagree with you. That is something that I think doesn't get talked about enough. How there's a lot of teams that are still searching for their quarterback and will do a lot of desperate things to take a chance on a quarterback, whether it's giving up a lot of picks, a lot of money, it's crazy trades, whatever it is. And we got Baker at we didn't have any cap room, so that's all we had to spend, and it wasn't much, and he took it because he knew the opportunity that he would have if things went well, and he fit in. Couldn't have been a better fit with our team and for this town. Just his energy and just the way that he plays and his whole shtick is exactly what Tampa needed. So I hope Baker is here for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And many Bucs fans and ourselves feel that way too. Sticking with the conversation of players being pricks, last offseason, you famously said on a scale of 1 to 10 on the prick scale, Baker is a 10. And you meant it in a very endearing way. Baker laughed at it as well.
That's a compliment.
Yes, absolutely. It's a compliment. Are there any other players that are on that 10 on the prick scale, or is Baker in a class of his own?
Well, for the position, it's just kind of rare to see the way that he plays. You take the good with the bad. Sometimes you're holding your breath, but he's just not going to take shit from anybody, and I love it. And everybody, it kind of energizes it does. It energizes the entire team, especially the offensive line. And, I think we have a lot. I mean, I love the way Luke plays. I would put him in that category. I love the way Cody plays. Cody is through the whistle, through the echoes of the whistle on every play. There's nothing more fun for me than seeing Cody pulling out in space and just demolishing somebody. It's what I live for when I'm watching offensive line. So, and Luke does the same thing. And Graham is like one of those guys that I think I've said before. He kind of reminds you of an accountant by day, but a murderer by night. He turns into a different person on the field. And Ben and Tristan in their own right, are the same way. So I'm not including them. They're all. It's a fun group to watch. I think that's the reason for our success with the offensive line and the run game and pass protection and everything, is they all play so well together and they all have the same mindset.
Speaking of Baker, we're kind of on the Baker kick right now, but this is kind of an important question because, you love how he plays and energizes the team. The first time we saw that was in that Minnesota game, right? In his season debut with the Buccaneers back in 2023, and, stiff arming the guy and telling him he needs to get his weight up. Was that the moment where you really were kind of sold on Baker Mayfield being that guy for you? Did it come a little bit later? Because I know that was like a week one kind of thing. Or did it happen earlier than that in training camp?
I think that was a very one of the bigger moments for me with him. When I saw that, and just the way he was talking shit and on the field in a good way, and getting everybody into it. I think
the way the team reacted.
And the way the team reacted. Yeah. So I think that was a pinnacle moment.
Now, to talk about some of the guys that Baker's going to be throwing to this season, there's been a lot of conversation about Emeka Egbuka, and understandably so. He's the first round pick for the Bucs this season. But curious to get your thoughts about Jalen McMillan. The way that he came onto the scene at the end of last season. What are your expectations for him going into this year and his role on the offense?
I expect him to have a big year and pick up where he left off. If he's had an amazing offseason. I know you guys have seen some of the days out here, and he's been lighting it up. But he's been very, very consistent every day like that. He's got an amazing attitude right now. He always has, but I mean, there's something's clicked with him where I think he wants to prove that he's a starting level receiver, and that's awesome for us.
This team has won a Super Bowl, and it's won division championships. Now it's been at the playoffs for like the last 5 straight seasons. Each year is different, but is there a common theme as to why this team has found success as a group recently? And you go back to Todd's first year. That was a different team. That was an older team, and then just like that, it's switches over to Baker. You guys got noticeably younger. with hitting on a lot of draft picks that became instant starters for you, but yet there was that success before. What's been that common theme that has been more than just Mike and Levante and Chris and the guys that kind of crossed over from the older Super Bowl team to all of a sudden your quick newfound success continuing as NFC South champions with a different team?
I think it's two things. We've talked a lot about the culture of this team and the type of players that we bring in, and I think that's a very, very big part of it. And the second thing is just Todd and the way that he leads them and is responsible for that culture on a day-to-day basis of the locker room, the way they meet, the way they work on the field. He's a tremendous leader, and the way that he just can keep steady hand and through some adversity, which you're always going to have, but we don't want to go through another slip in the middle of the season like we have the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But just the way that this culture is set up through Todd, you're able to get through it. Now, I hated going through it. Glad we did, and it's gonna pay off for us now moving forward because of what the players have gone through and with their experiences with it. So it's twofold thing. It's the type of players we bring in, but the way the culture's set up by Todd.
Yeah.
You've been the general manager of the Bucs now since 2014. In that time, and all these years later, what have you learned about yourself as a general manager?
I sometimes look back at some of the things I did early and want to go back and slap myself. I think I've learned to be more patient and to be more reasonable, and also listen to my employees and delegate more, and trust them. So, and not thinking that I have to do everything. So I think I got myself in trouble a little bit there in the past. I'm glad I went through it. Just the same thing, type of thing. I can dip back into my experiences, but there's just certain things right now that people might want to pounce on that now I realize it's not a very good idea. I don't want to give any examples, but you don't want to disrupt a good thing. You got to keep the whole locker room in mind when you make moves and you bring in people. And you can have, it's not like we talk about the culture and the great guys that we have. I mean, we're not looking for, we don't want just a whole bunch of Boy Scouts in here. I mean, you can put up with some immaturity. You can put up with some, everybody's got a past. Everybody's, most people. I mean, I think, Scott, if I could go back and if I really wanted to do a deep dive, I'm sure I could find some things in your background too. But you want everybody to have one goal in mind, and that's winning, and winning. And it's okay to have a goal of making a lot of money and being in the Hall of Fame, but everybody that we have that does have that as a goal knows that you have to win for those things to come.
That's right. Yeah. You mentioned Todd Bowles and getting a lot of credit for the culture, and I agree. I give him a lot of credit, and I've written about this. I've done a Pewter Pulse video. We've talked about it in the podcast. I love everything Todd Bowles has said and done this offseason. You talk about self-reflection. It seems like that loss, and it was sour for everybody, right? Nobody wants to lose at home, in a playoff game. But making the coaching changes that he made, bringing in Zach Beastline and having him help with game day management decisions, not wanting to reinvent the wheel at offensive coordinator, understanding that, hey, Jason, what do you think? This Josh Grizzard guy, he's been a big part of our success here. I really like everything that Todd has done this offseason. What are your thoughts on that? Because he's really kind of metamorphosized, I think, quite a bit. Matt and I were even noticing at the last couple of meetings, the NFL annual meeting and in Indy, he's even sounding a little bit more like Bruce Arians now. He's kind of calling some players out. He's not putting up with the bullshit anymore. He feels that it's not pressure to win, but it's kind of like, hey, it's time. Like, we've arrived. Let's get this thing going. And do you feel like he's
I do.
Change it a little bit in that
I
regard?
do. He's amazing to work with. We've had some awesome meetings, he and I together since the end of the season, presenting to each other what we think where the team's going, what we need. And I haven't disagreed with him on anything. And vice versa. He's like all good coaches. I worked for Andy Reid in New England. I mean, in Philly, when the fans and the media were calling on him to be a better game manager, make better decisions. I mean, really calling for his head at times too.
Yeah.
And he went through the same thing, made some changes, brought in some people to help him with things. And I think Todd saw that and he did it on his own. And he just wants to do what's best for the team. And all that matters is winning. So
That's
you got whatever you can do to help yourself win is all that matters. He doesn't have an ego. So I mean, everybody's got an ego, but he's
his
very
is in check though.
Right. He's got a selfless attitude. It's not about him. It's about the team.
Right.
Amen. When it comes to building this year's team in 2025, where would you say is the deepest part of the roster on offense and on defense?
Well, on offense, it's pretty easy. I mean, we've got a lot of receivers right now, and that's always fun to have. I do like our depth on offensive line as well.
Yeah,
and then running back. That's a great room, and just we added one this year. He's probably going to turn a lot of heads in preseason. And
Josh Williams at LSU.
Josh Williams, he's been really, really good. Smart, real twitchy, quick. Catches with his hands well, very smooth and understands protection. So it's going to be fun to watch this preseason. I've really probably never been this excited about the entire rookie class, including the undrafted free agents, because if you were to ask me which guys are you excited to watch, I could rattle off 7 or 8 of them. So that's good. Then on defense. Right now, I like our depth in the secondary. So, and I know fans don't want to hear it, but I like the inside linebacker situation right now.
I said the same thing when he was on.
Yep.
That's what was what he said was inside linebacker. This is the
deepest. People think that Voss has got all this long injury. We had one injury, and so it's we got it fixed, and I'm glad we did it. When we did it, so he's ready and 100% now, and he's been awesome. And Levante still looks like Levante, and Anthony Walker has been a great addition. Yeah. And then Deion Jones has been making plays left and right. He's a former all Pro Bowler. Yeah. So and then the two undrafted rookies, Jackson and Bullock, they got a legit shot. So they're playing very well. So we're in a much better situation than we were last year there.
It sounds like it. I think another group that you're really talented at, maybe the production hasn't been there in terms of sacks because so many of these guys are young, but outside linebacker, what is the addition of Hassan Reddick due to that room really having a veteran that, and listen, I love Larry Foote. I think he's a phenomenal pass rush coach, but I think even the best position coaches will tell you when you have that kind of lieutenant in the room, that veteran, who kind of like echoes the same things that the coach is saying. It helps the younger guys come along. Plus, he's got that on-field experience of being a 4-time double-digit sack guy. What is he going to do for Yaya Diaby, especially, and having that bookend now with Yaya and Hassan rushing the passer?
Well, I think the addition of Hassan and then what I think David Walker is capable of doing in in whatever rotation we have, with Yaya obviously being a stud and Anthony Nelson being the steady player that he's been all these years. I think, and then Chris Braswell has looked pretty good here. So he's figured things out. So I think I didn't want to go too far and start telling you about how every position we're deep at, and try to look like I'm trying to sell a bill of goods here. Yeah. But it is one that I'm pretty excited about. You can't have too many of those guys.
Right.
Agreed there. Can you tell us a little bit more about David Walker, what you like about him? And he's just another signature small school draft pick by you.
So what I like about him is he's very he's kind of blocky. He doesn't look like your traditional pass rusher. He looks more like a don't know, a big old throwback middle linebacker than he does a pass rusher, but he moves so stealthy. He's so quick, explosive, and smooth, and very strong, big time effort, and just a natural instinct for rushing the passer. Knows how to use his hands, knows how to set him up, set up tackles. He knows how to bend and dip and know when to counter and all these things. It's I'm not trying to make him sound like he's all pro already, but I think he's going to be a really good player.
Larry Foote thinks that he could be, maybe a James Harrison type, kind of like a sleeper that doesn't come in with a lot of fanfare, but then just becomes that guy. Speaking of Larry Foote, and maybe it's somebody else. What assistant coach gives you the hardest time lobbying for players, either in free agency, the draft, or whatever?
They all kind of do. I mean, coaches are wired. They're funny. You could have 5 all-pro players on your offensive line, and Carbs is going to come in here telling me about some, offensive lineman we have to have.
Right.
And Charlie Strong is saying, man, if we could just have, I'm like, you got Vita, Kalijah, we've got some really good players. You just don't forget about that. Now, I do know that we need backups and stuff, but
right.
I'm talking about everybody wants that they're a player with that first round pick that we have.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's all good, man. We have a great staff, and Beal and Rob McCartney and Greenberg and Tony Hart and my whole scouting staff gets along with all these coaches really, really well. And that's very, very important when it comes to working together and having successful drafts. I can't emphasize it enough. It's one of the utmost importance of having success is getting along together and working well together between scouting and coaching.
No doubt.
When Todd was on last week, he got asked about players that kind of talk trash back to him, and naturally Baker was asked about. And Todd let us know that there's a great rivalry going on between Baker and Larry Foote talking trash to each other. Have you seen that up close and personal?
Oh, yeah. Well, Larry Foote will talk trash with anybody on offense. He's got something to say after every play. So it's easy. I can understand why the offensive coaches and players want to give it back to Larry, because it never escalates to a fight, but I could see when it comes to,
I don't know, Jason, Larry's ready to fight.
And when he starts chirping, he's got a very punchable face, but it's fun. It makes it brings up the level of competitiveness is off the charts when this happens, and Larry knows that's why he's doing it, and you get a better practice out of it when it happens.
Yeah. Which players are you most excited to see when the pads come on in training camp?
Ooh, well, I think anytime you ask me that question this time of year, it's going to be rookies, because you want to see right now out here in shorts, you're super excited about them, but you want to see the rookies. Like we talk about David Walker, he's probably one of them.
Yeah.
And then, I want to see how it looks, Voss finally putting the pads on and because he hasn't been out for a while, and he's looking great out here. But those two, I mean, I think I know what a Mecca is going to be, but you still want to see. I could go down the list. It's the rookies, but I think I named the top one.
Yeah.
How about some of the guys going into their second year in the NFL, or generally just some of the younger players on this team? Who do you think has the capability to make the biggest jump?
I think Tyke and J-Mac are two that I would probably single out right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You doubled up in the cornerback position in rounds 2 and 3 this year with Benjamin Morrison and a Kansas Stater and Jacob Parrish. What are your views on them and the overall level of competition going into training camp? And do you think that the addition of either one of those guys, or maybe both, brings out the best in Jamel Dean? It seemed to me that Jamel was more razor sharp, and I know injuries have played a factor in all of this, but I just remember when he and Sean Murphy-Bunting were battling, right, for that starting job, and Murphy-Bunting ended up being the nickel, right? But in 2019, 2020, 2021, it just seemed like with that competition, Jamel was maybe the best version of himself at that time.
Yeah, I think it always brings out the best in people. Those two guys have been plug and play. I mean, in terms of learning the defense, doing the right things, making plays in practice. A lot of coaches are gushing right now over those two rookies. But I think they're gonna. Zion looks as good as I've ever seen him too. So I think it's helping. I think it's helping everybody.
You and Todd both spoke about how pivotal Servassier Dennis was last year, and when that injury occurred, the pass defense kind of fell off considerably after that injury. Todd said later that the team didn't really have someone that could play that role, and then it's like, is it KJ? Is it JJ Russell? Is it Vi Jones? You were trying to shuffle the deck and see if you could find a winning hand. What did that teach you about depth as it pertains to specific roles and skill sets? Because I've noticed you've beefed up with more experience, not just there, but also when the injury bug hit the cornerback position, right? You've got Bryce Hall back, you've got Kendall Vildor, right? I mean, you don't have to lean on necessarily Tyreek Funderburk, who was an undrafted free agent, or Josh Hayes, who's a gunner that was kind of asked to play outside corner.
You brought up Vildor. He's been very good. He's been impressive. Yeah, I think we react. I think it's just by nature. When you have injuries like we did last year, middle linebacker, at receiver, whatever the position group is, I think we kind of react, and we don't want that to happen again. Mm-hmm. But it's almost impossible to set up a lot of depth at every position. You want depth at every position, but you could all of a sudden have two significant injuries at one spot, and then people are saying, oh, they didn't have enough depth, well, you can't have, 6, starting level middle linebackers on your roster. You just can't. But we reacted to what we had, and the things that happened last year. And I think we were a little aggressive about it. And, but I think we tried to do the best we could to get every position in a situation, if a situation arises that we can still go out there and do and play like we've been playing and make the playoffs.
Yeah. I want to ask you about some of the undrafted free agents that you're excited about, but you mentioned earlier that you're excited about all of them. So I guess what I'll ask is, it seems like every year the team has been able to find an impact undrafted free agent or a guy that's able to make the team and really give a big contribution. I know a couple seasons ago, Christian Izien, really comes to mind. How do you guys just have that knack for, really finding that diamond in the rough year in and year out?
We've had some, we've been fortunate. I have great staff. That's what I'm going to answer that with great staff, great scouting staff. And the coaches aren't afraid to put those guys in there. And we have tremendous coaches, and Todd loves to develop talent, young talent. Mm-hmm. I mentioned a couple already, but I'd probably be remiss if I didn't. JJ Roberts has really been, he was a guy that we liked a lot. We brought him in on the top 30 visit. And then that offensive line, Ben Chukwuma, and then Jake Majors, and then Ben Scott, are three that I probably, as undrafted rookie free agents, the three total overall is probably three of the best undrafted that we've brought in at this point right now. We'll see what happens at camp, but they're getting better every day. And brings a smile to my face when we have some young offensive line talent that we can develop.
Right. You successfully replaced John Robinson with John Spytek. Can you talk a little bit about Rob McCartney and Mike Beal? And it was great, I think, that you allowed them to kind of continue on that tradition that you did with Spytek, letting those guys talk about the draft on day 2 and 3. But those have been guys that have really been loyal to you. They've worked behind the scenes for a decade or more to help build this franchise. Now they're a little bit more in the spotlight because of their promotions. But what did they bring that you find to be a unique quality and a praiseworthy quality? Let's go with Rob McCartney first.
Well, with Rob, I saw it right away when I first got hired in 2014. I think he was, I don't know if his title was pro scout or he was a scouting assistant, or just maybe the year before became a pro scout. But no, I think he was a scouting assistant. I saw it right away in my draft meetings. I didn't know these guys very well. I knew them from being on the road, but I never worked with anybody here. And I promoted him right away to my national scout. It was a big promotion for him. And trusted him right away with his evaluations. It was very impressive. And he has been the same since. He's a very, very detailed, can evaluate both pro and college, but he's one of the things that he's very, very good at is coaching up the young scouts and scouting assistants. And he loves to teach. And so he's helped our pipeline of these scouting assistants that we've elevated. I think we've had 13 of our former scouting assistants are now on our staff as a scout or director, or Rob's case, assistant GM. So he's got a great pulse of the league, of what's going on with. I can name a player for the Chargers and a backup that that nobody's heard of, and he can rattle off. He's got an encyclopedia of a memory. So those are the things I like about Rob. With Beal was one of my first hires. Yeah. And I knew him from being on the road with him as a scout. We kind of came up together about the same age, same time. And tremendous evaluator, tremendous leader of the road scouts. Does a great job of organizing all of that, where they're going. Now Tony Hardy's doing that, but where they're going, where they should go, and getting the true picture from out of them in meetings, asking a lot of great questions. So I just like sitting back and watching him go to work with that, so I can just visualize as I'm sitting there and listening. Yeah. So he's been both a tremendous value to me, just like all of my employees. But you've asked about those too, so I just kind of went on and on about it.
How vital has it been to keep really like a core nucleus, of that front office together to continue the success of this team that we've seen over the last 5 years?
It's very, very rare. I think it goes with the territory with Tampa. We kind of get, we go under the radar. Our players do. Just so do my assistants, and it was kind of good and bad.
Your benefit, right?
With my benefit. Now, John was ready, just like I think. I have Rob and Mike. I think they're ready too. But John was ready, and one of the good things that came out of John leaving is I was able to elevate, do some promotions and kind of elevate from within. Because if you get stuck somewhere for a while in the same spot, it's just human nature. You just feel like you can do more, and I was able to do that with some people.
Yeah, for sure.
One guy in this organization that has gone underrated for way too long, and really his whole career, has been Lavonte David. So let me ask you, in your opinion, is Lavonte David a Hall of Famer? And do you think the lack of Pro Bowls kind of hurt his chances a little bit?
I don't know about that. You saw how quickly I answered. He's one of the best inside linebackers I've ever been around, and you can put his stats, if that's what you want to do, against anybody. And as you guys know, and it screams Hall of Fame. He's an even better person. So I don't think that's going to, I guess, unfortunately, maybe in some people's eyes it does, but I think if the story will be told right and correctly, I think everybody will see that he's a Hall of Famer. Okay.
So out of the Bucs players that you have presided over, doesn't mean that you acquired them via the draft pick or that you signed him as a free agent. So Lavonte David counts in this equation.
Okay.
Who is your Bucs Mount Rushmore? The 4 guys who are the greatest in this particular generation under your leadership.
Don't make me do this. I'm gonna leave somebody out. You're gonna. I'll just say Lavonte and Mike Evans for sure. Okay. Let's do that.
Right.
Okay. Let's put Tristan in there.
Right.
But there's so many more that Vita. Don't make me do this. I guess I just named 4. So
there you go. Yeah. We'll cut it there.
But I want to put a little caveat in.
You want to put Tom Brady in, right?
Yes.
And you want to put Ryan Jensen.
And you
want to put Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a lot of chisels.
Yeah, we're gonna need a couple of Mount Rushmore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me ask something a little bit different, a little bit off topic. What's the craziest fan interaction that you've ever had? Like, has it been signing an autograph? Like, for example, Mike Evans last year signed, I think, like a fan's leg or something like that, and they got that tattooed. Is there anything like that? Any type of crazy fan interaction?
There's a big time Bucs fan out there, and his name's Zach. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I'll just his first name, Zach. And he loves the Bucs, and he'll DM me, and I enjoy the DMs and enjoy the kind of going back and forth with him a little bit because he's been very consistent since I got the job. So, and he sent me a WWE belt, and
Nice.
And it's the best damn GM and all this kind of stuff on it. And I got it here, but it's awesome. He must have spent $1,000 on this thing. But he's so passionate about the Bucs. He's nuts.
It's so funny you mentioned that because we have a super chat here, $9.99 super chat for Bucs by 30. Jason, who is your favorite fan and why is it Zach? So here you go.
You know who I'm talking about then. There you go. Okay, I see. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
All right, shout out Zach.
Yeah.
Now he's going to want me to be on his podcast.
All right, so let me ask you this. I asked Todd Bowles this question, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't think it was the right answer. But if you're in a street fight, Jason, which Buccaneer player from the current team are you picking to back you up?
Luke.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
because Because he's crazy too. He wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
He'd go.
We've seen him back up Baker.
He'd go ape shit, and.
Yeah, I mean, the answer I was looking for from one of you, but I will accept Luke Gedeke because he was actually be my number 2 on the current roster. Is that? But I mean, Vita Vea. I mean, come on, holy smokes,
Yeah, boy, I may have dropped the ball there. No, I'll stick with Luke, I guess, because I went with it. But I don't know, Vita that's too obvious of an answer, I guess.
Well, the interesting thing is Todd surprised us when he said Chris Godwin, and he said, and I said, really, Chris Godwin? Why are you going with an offensive guy? He's like, well, he's kind of like Muhammad Ali, whereas Vita would be like George Foreman, different styles and all that stuff. So we did have Todd on last week, and he kind of let us know. I mean, about the Chips Ahoy and the milk, right? Todd? Oh, you don't know that? Oh, okay. Well, he's a bit of a Chips Ahoy aficionado.
Yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know there was one thing about it. Okay.
Well, yeah, he told a story which we didn't hear, and you probably haven't heard either. Let's go ahead and play the clip, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Where is it? I got it right here. This is from Cruz on the radio, $10 super chat. Much love, Coach Bowles. You've been in the league for a long time. What's one locker room or sideline moment that still makes you laugh?
Ooh, wow, that's a lot. For me, I go back to when I was a player, my rookie and my second year back in 86, 87, and I got to the locker room. My pregame ritual for that a couple games was to eat Chip Ahoy's and milk before the game in the locker room while I'm sitting there getting taped up and getting ready. And that at the time there was no health and nutritionist or nothing like that. So I look back now and it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever done, and I laugh at myself every time somebody reminds me of that. That is probably one of the funniest moments I can recall.
That's funny.
What is the funniest moment that you've encountered on the job, Jason? Is there one thing that makes you just like still to this day laughing out loud?
That's tough. So when you're talking, I just saw the guy's question was on the sideline or at the game locker room. I can't get enough of Tom Moore on game day on the sideline. Tom Moore's the nicest man you'll ever meet.
Right.
You want to go into his office and talk all day if you could.
Right.
But on game day, he's got a switch, and he gets after the refs like you have.
Really?
And the refs, one year in 2020, we're in Carolina, and I don't know what he was saying to the ref, but it's pretty vulgar.
Right.
And the ref went and told Bruce, you got to keep your assistant in check. So the ref came back down. It was like maybe the next quarter, and he was standing next to him, and he goes, "Oh, so you got to tell the teacher on me, do you?" And just lets him. I'm always worried that he might put it over the line. But then after the game, the ref always comes over and they shake hands. And before the game, I'll say, "Hey, take it easy on me, Tom, today." But it is one of the funnier things you've ever seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, that blew me away. The fact that Todd Bowles would eat Chips Ahoy and milk. I mean, it's fine. Like as a post game snack or something. Congratulations meal, whatever. Like I get it, but
pregame.
But pregame, before you're out there going ready to play football, that's crazy.
I love that from Tom Moore, though. I mean, who among us hasn't MF'd the ref before, really in any sport? But Jason, do you have any pregame rituals, any songs you listen to, or a specific meal or something you have before the game?
So, yeah, I'm a little superstitious, I guess.
Me too.
I listen to Ecstasy of Gold on the way to the stadium. I also have to get my car washed. So I stop at the car wash. Yeah. And part of it's because I park under the stadium. I don't want it to look, like crap. So it's very, very ritual about that. So even on away games, I have to leave the house in time to go through the car wash before I go to the airport. So it's kind of weird.
No, I respect it. I mean, you got to do what you have to do for the team to win. Everyone's got their methods and their rituals and stuff like that.
And Wawa, I stop at Wawa and I have to get a sizzly. Okay. So there's a plug for Wawa.
There you go. Plug for Wawa. Just like Todd gives a plug for Chips Ahoy. There you go. It's the power of AI right there. So we need to get him an endorsement deal, though. I think really Todd deserves a Chips Ahoy endorsement deal.
I don't think either of us need a lot of Chips Ahoy over here now. So please don't.
Jason, we appreciate your time. We have some carefully curated questions from the fans. Can you take a couple fan questions?
Sure.
Okay. We appreciate Mark Fisher, $9.99 super chat. Can't wait to watch live, but asking Jason Licht to answer one of these questions. What happened in 2022 has to be more than Ali Marpet retiring, or you can answer, with the window of the Super Bowl open now, how do you feel this roster compares to the 2020 Bucs?
I'll take the latter one. There was a lot that went into that 2022 season.
Yeah.
But I think we don't have Tom Brady, but we have Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield has a chance. Baker Mayfield has the ability to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I would say overall roster, very young, very talented on the secondary, very similar. I like our roster now a little bit better there. I think it compares very favorably to it.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
We have one from Paul, a.k.a. OG Baker Bro. Thank you for the super chat. Who says, Jason, you have signed some incredible free agents as general manager. Out of all of the free agents you've signed, who has been your favorite, and why is it Baker Mayfield?
Baker is I know Todd said on your podcast that they have a lot of similarities together. And those two both played pro football, so I can't say that I played pro football, but I was a walk-on. I was kind of felt like I had to fight for everything I got, and I was an offensive lineman for most of my college career, and Baker truly is an offensive lineman just in a quarterback's body. So if you're going to ask me why it's Baker, those are the reasons.
How do you feel when he smashes his helmet into everyone, like for pregame? Not even in the game, pregame. He's
hey, whatever floats your boat, whatever gets him fired up. Yeah.
Let me put the next one up here. Samuel Fisher, who I go back and forth. We're Big 12 guys. Samuel Fisher, $5 super chat. Thank you. Hey, Jason, what's up with not drafting Iowa State players? Work ethic and character are the best. Sincerely, Sam Fisher, Bucs fan who lives in Iowa. He always gives me crap about my Kansas State Wildcats.
It just hasn't worked out, Sam. There's been a lot of Iowa State players that I wish we could have had a chance to get. I love Ames. I love the Midwest. It's always a fun place.
You had Jalen Nolan. I mean, he was under consideration, right? He's a good wide receiver, right?
So they've had some really good players. Hopefully we can do that next year.
This one from Paul Bone just says, Todd Bowles, appreciation post. Jason, you demand. So just showing some love for the Bucs GM.
Thanks, Paul.
Matt, you want to put these up here?
Yeah, I'll go. Jack B says, hey, Jason. And thank you, Jack, for the super chat. Hey, Jason, do you ever worry about a fight breaking out between all of these Ducks and Huskies that you keep drafting? I don't know if Tez will be able to keep up with Vita. Hashtag go Bucs, go Ducks, Dubs down.
No, I don't worry about it. But as far as Tez, I think Vita would have a hard time catching him. So I think I wouldn't worry too much about that if those two did go at it.
Yeah.
I like this one from Darius Miller. Thank you, Darius. He says, hey, Jason, if you had to choose an AC/DC or Metallica song that represents this team, what would it be? You're the best GM in the league, in my opinion.
One.
Just one.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great song. That's probably my favorite Metallica song, that or Master of Puppets. Speaking of music, Jason, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar from Paul? Appreciate that, Paul.
Sammy Hagar.
Okay.
Another post from Matt D says, Jason, you're the best GM in the league, Hall of Fame credentials, and definitely Ring of Honor. Appreciate everything that you do for us Bucs fans.
Thanks, Matt. If I ever see you out, I'll buy you a beer. Appreciate it.
Let me ask you this. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, here's a post from John B. What are some of the best ways to get into the scouting world? We appreciate you very much, John B., for being a Pewter Report TV channel member. And will you hire me after I get some experience?
Well, it depends. The best ways are to get into it somehow, work, volunteer, college, get into the college ranks. Now there's a lot of personnel departments
that's right.
Incredible in the college ranks now. And that's what we've dipped into some of our most recent hires. So, once you hire a really good person out of one of these schools, they're very connected and they know who the staffs are at other schools and they come to you with a lot of recommendations. So that's what we've run into that this year. So we hired 2 new scouting assistants this year, and we're very excited about them.
And if you happen to work in Nebraska, you get like extra credit, right?
Yeah,
so.
maybe get extra credit. Yeah. You can live in my basement. Oh, I don't have a basement here, but
yeah. Tommy Liverone, $4.99 super chat. Hey, Jason, my expectations are high for this team. How do you feel about the potential of pass rush with the addition of Hassan Reddick? Go Bucs.
I'm super excited about it, not only for Hassan, because I think he's going to show that he's still an elite player, but it's going to open up a lot of other opportunities along that defensive line. I think it'll make Yaya better. I think it's going to make Kalijah better. I think it's going to make Vita better. I think across the board, I think everybody's going to thrive from having a player like an elite player like Hassan Reddick.
This one from Grizz. Thank you for the super chat. Someone we actually haven't really talked about on the show. The chat is curious on your thoughts about Josh Grizzard taking over as offensive coordinator this season.
And also Kyle Trask.
And Kyle Trask.
Josh has been amazing. He's been awesome. He's a little different than Liam, where Liam was a little bit more energetic. Josh is a little bit more poised, but both incredible offensive minds. And Josh is a very, very sharp guy that the players all really like a lot. He's a regular dude. He's a lot of fun to work with day to day, but he's got a lot of ideas and a lot of things going through his head. And he's got a great way of getting them onto paper or onto the board and teaching. And he's got the players very excited right now. Kyle, we're excited about Kyle. He's been in our system for a while now, and got a lot of faith in him. And if hopefully he doesn't have to play in the regular season, but if he did, I think he could keep the things keep us afloat. Put it that way.
One of the questions I asked Todd on the podcast last week, and he was pretty diplomatic about it. I've got a feeling maybe you won't be, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth. What is the Bucs' biggest rival in the NFC South? I know you want to go undefeated.
I hate the Saints.
The Saints. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And why is that? Embellish, please. Give us some reasoning.
Oh, I mean, it's almost a compliment to him. I mean, I like some people that work there. I like Mickey Loomis. I always enjoy talking to him at the owners' meetings, and got some other really good friends on their staff. But I just for some reason, I just can't wait to beat their ass. It's
And
and they're always tough. They're a tough team, no matter what. Doesn't matter what their record is.
Yeah.
It's
even in the season finale last year,
right?
They were gritty.
No, I have a lot of respect. A lot of respect for them.
It's got to be that much sweeter when Mike gets over 1,000 yards in that last game against the Saints specifically.
Yeah, that was top 5 moment for sure.
Yeah, that and you clinched the division. There are some haters out there. You keep the receipts, Jason, when it comes to the naysayers.
I do. I've got a shoebox of them right now already for this year.
Hopefully, not many Pewter Report receipts in there.
No.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, at least not yet. So we'll see how the season goes. Jason, are we leaving anything off the table? Is there any big topic that we didn't address that maybe we should address on the show?
I think you guys have done a good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll take it.
You know what? We think you've done a pretty good job too. I think the Super Bowl window is open for this team. I think it was open last year, but it's even open further this year. I'm with you. I think the depth on this team, the experience depth too. Listen, I was amazed. I think I might even texted you like I always do every year. Every general manager going all the way back to Mark Dominic. Good luck in the draft. Not that you need it, right? But it just seemed to me it's like last year's draft was kind of so stellar, getting 4 impact players. I didn't think you'd be able to pull it off like you guys did this year. But honestly,
we'll see. We'll see. The proof is in the pudding.
I know it is, but it's like and sometimes it's like okay, we're on day 3 now, and you're getting special teamers and stuff, and the sexier picks are maybe the day 2 sweet spot guys or the first rounder. But it's like your day 3 picks have me just as excited as the first 3 guys you drafted, even your K-Stater. I mean, David Walker to me was the peak excitement for me when you had his name thrown up there on the draft as the 4th round pick. And then Tez Johnson, I mean, what a way to end it too. Elijah Roberts in between. I mean, did a bang up job.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, we're very, very excited about it, but we'll see. So hopefully what they've done so far transfers over to the camp, and then that transfers into the regular season. But I think we've got some players that are going to really help us this year.
I think so too. We'll be out there at Bucs training camp soon. Bucs mini camp tomorrow. So we'll see you out there. Jason, appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much.
Friend of the program. Thanks for coming on. I think you did just as good of a job as Todd Bowles. So you guys have championship
great
level
combo.
start.
No doubt. He made headlines though. He did a great job there.
Well, maybe you will too. Maybe ESPN or NFL Network would call us for a snippet, and we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for joining us.
Can't thank you enough, Jason.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Folks, that's a 1-2 punch right there. That's Jason Licht and Todd Bowles. They have built one heck of a team. It's hard not to be excited about this. I mean, we're trying to be objective and fair in our reporting, but Matt, I don't think that we would not say anything that we don't believe either at the same time. I mean, we both had this team at 10-7 last year. You and I, matter of fact, everybody.
You're spot on.
We're spot on, right? And we don't know what our predictions are going to be this year, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, Matt, if it's higher than 10 wins, given the talent and the experience that this team now has.
Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest thing, and Jason spoke about it too, is that they essentially covered all of the weaknesses, quote unquote, with the issues of their depth. Like whether it was at corner, outside linebacker has certainly been addressed. The offensive line, he thinks, is one of the best in the league. They didn't even have to address depth there. They just got stronger at their, at their own game. So this team is full. Every single piece has been in there. All the ingredients are there, if you will.
Yep.
Now it's up to Chef Todd Bowles to make sure those ingredients work well together and put on a 5-star meal, if you will. And the Bucs certainly have the potential. We know their pitfalls, but we know what they can be if everything is put together. And that's what makes the season so damn exciting.
I know. I really think this is going to be a super season. The only thing that I think is going to derail this team, knock on wood, hopefully it's not last year, is injuries. Because this is a Buccaneer team now that I think they showed last year they can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. They can beat the Eagles. I mean, those were the two teams in the Super Bowl last year. And they went wire to wire with the 49ers. They beat the Lions in Detroit. I mean, they accomplished a lot of things but the injuries just took a toll, and they did not have enough depth. And I think that's the lesson learned from last year that Jason and Todd applied to this year and really shored up a lot of different positions, including, as he said, the linebacker and wide receiver position. We didn't get to all the super chats because Jason was kind of
apologies to supply and demand. I know you're angry in the chat right now, but
sorry about
we had
that.
a lot of people to get to.
Yeah, Christopher Oxentine, I can answer this for you right now. $5 super chat. Jason, are the Bucs going to wear a throwback unis more than once? That is a closely guarded secret right now. I can't get that out of anybody. So I'm just letting you know that's something that the team will release when they announce their throwback game and all those things. Jason was not going to tell us. Otherwise, he would get a talking to from people with last name Glazer. So that was not going to be answered. But I can talk about that.
Jair Alexander is available now. The Packers let go of him. I don't think the Bucs are in the market for
I don't
for
either.
a corner though, based on what went on there.
When you spend 2 draft picks, 2 day 2 picks on corners, and you keep Jamel because he's experienced and he's good when he's healthy, right? And you heard his excitement level for Zion, so there's just not room right now for a player of like Jair Alexander, on this team.
No, not at the moment. But again, they filled so many different spots, so many, so many roles on this team are filled. So there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Jason talk about, the Saints and how he can't stand them.
I hate the Saints.
I know, right? Listen, I'm kind of the same way. I like DeMario Davis as a player. I've got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite Saint of all time is Drew Brees, only because he's a part owner in walk-ons. And, if you're looking to find a place to watch NBA finals, NHL finals, anything like that, or even celebrate Father's Day, the place to do it is a walk-ons. 3 locations in the Tampa Bay area: Midtown Tampa, Wesley Chapel, and Lakeland. And walk-ons covers all the bases for Father's Day. Great food, festive drinks, and sports all day long. You're not going to find a place that has more TVs glued to sports than walk-ons. And of course, Monday is a great day to enjoy walk-ons. They've got happy hour from 3 to close today. It's always a victory Monday. Well, Tuesday's even better because it's all day happy hour plus $5 Tito's. You can see the options there they have for their happy hour menu. Eat like a winner, drink like a champ at walk-ons. And you heard Jason Licht also talk about Briar Greaves Insurance. He's actually a customer. And you know what? So am I. Briar Greaves Insurance, protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. Homeowners, auto, flood, boat, business insurance. The reason why I like Briar Greaves Insurance is because I can get on the phone with one of the members of the Greaves family, and they are my personal insurance agents. I don't have to go talk to Travelers Insurance or Olympus, who does my homeowners insurance. They do all of that work for me. When I needed to get car insurance, they went through all of the list of the different Florida carriers, and they also are a Geico representative too. So if you're interested in Geico, Briar Greaves Insurance also carries Geico. But listen, hurricane season's here. If you live in a flood zone, you need not only homeowners insurance, but also flood insurance. Make sure you're covered. Work with an independent agency that's family owned and Tampa based that you can trust, and they can help you from anywhere across the state of Florida. When it comes to writing insurance, BriarGreavesInsurance.com. Give them a call at 813-876-4166.
Man, this was a really fun show. Thanks again to Jason Licht for joining us. Always a great interview. 3-time friend of the program now, because he came on after the Super Bowl was won, and then he was on last year. So in that 3-member club. And this is just the beginning of the week. We have Bucs mandatory minicamp over the next 3 days, Scott, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we're definitely going to break all of that down on the Pewter Report podcast as well. They will all be at 4:00 p.m. So in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe, but leave a comment on this video. Tell us your thoughts about our interview with Jason Licht. What you think the Bucs record might be, your favorite part of the interview, what you liked what Jason Licht said, and all that fun stuff. Help us build our following on Pewter Report TV as we get closer and closer to 20,000 subscribers. Yeah. That's going to do it for us this afternoon. For Jason Licht, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.